Good evening, Patrick here, 8 Questions with. Have Cheetah review, and welcome to the show. Have Cheetah review, of course. Welcome to the show. Oh boy, yeah, this has been a long day. Have not been feeling the best today. Um, but it's winter time, so it's to be expected. Time changes, temperature changes. It's cold as hell where we're at today. Uh, Cheetah has been pretty much sacked out most of the day, sleeping, so that's a good thing. Uh, Hi, Bradazzle. How are you? How are you? Glad you're here. Glad you're here. Yeah, it is cold here. It is 32 degrees, and that's outside. So, and it feels like in the mid 20s. So we're supposed to get some snow later on this week. Last week we got a dusting. I think this time it's going to be a little bit more than that. And according to the weather report, we're actually supposed to be getting an average winter here for us. But I haven't seen one of those for so long. I don't know what that means because we have not had average winters here for quite a few years. We've had really, really short, intense bursts of weather, and then we had a lot of snow, and then it goes away. So today we will be talking to filmmaker Kit Wilson. He will be our special guest today. We also had a great time talking with Christopher Pelton last night from the Horror Connection podcast, and we had a lot of fun talking to him as well. Great guy. Hopefully you'll go back and listen to that show. That was a lot of fun. Yeah, got a little, yeah, it was I thought we'd be talking a little bit more, more straight out horror movies, but we ended up talking mostly about podcasting, which is really cool because that's really, I like talking about that, getting the guests and have to negotiate with people to come onto your show. We looks like we've gotten a really huge break. Uh, hey, there's Jim. That's right, Jim. I'm going to come after the show tonight. I'm going to go over to the green room and I'm going to throw down the challenge. So we're going to have a Clash of the Titans. And I called out Jim for Clash of the Titans. So he gets to pick out a movie that he thinks people pick on a little bit too much. That's the gimmick of it. The gimmick for this time is going to be, what's a movie that you feel people really ride on, and they shouldn't. You shouldn't. It's a good movie, but everybody but you seems to think that it's not. So that's gonna be a tough one. But I thought, you know what? I'm gonna call my good friend Jim out. Maybe even get the boys involved in it. Maybe it'll be a one-on-one battle. But we're gonna, and it'll probably be most likely in January. Get all the holidays out and about. But come January, we're gonna battle. Oh well, yeah. Oh, I'm ready. Oh, I am so ready for this because you should go ahead and take a look. At least you go ahead and listen to the interview that me and the Bat did with Adam Marcus. That's why it's so unfair because we talked to the man, and once you hear his story about it, and they're coming out with a documentary too, Jim. Adam's coming out with a documentary about how Friday the 13th, Jason Goes to Hell was made. So that'll be really interesting as well. I cannot wait for that to happen, for that movie to make it. Let's see. Anthony is still in 2007 in his memoirs. All right. Good to know. Good to know. Yeah, I was trying to figure out something to do for Clash of the Titans with you, and for a minute there, I thought I was gonna actually get you and me to do a Western Titans. The best, and we still probably will actually. I'm thinking because you love the westerns as much as I do, and I thought we would go ahead and talk about TV westerns. Which ones are our favorites and which one are what makes it so great. But I thought the Jason one, I'm going like, you know what? That's it. I'm throwing down. The guy has Miss Samar. He has Miss Samar. He has that on his bed. How could he be crapping on Jason? Uh, but yeah, yes, I was listening to their great show last night. Um, Talking movies with Jim, Sean, and Kenny. They did bring up another series yesterday on their show that I'm going to go back and listen to as soon as this show is over with tonight. But Jim mentioned the Baby Cart series. I love the Baby Cart series. That is a ruthless and bloody great time. The Japanese series of 6 movies. I too got that on Criterion. I certainly did. I got that, and I got Lady Snowblood. So I took advantage of that. Um, but going back to our guest, Kit Wilson. So Kit has been making films for a while now. He has been he has made he has made the short film of a very fine art form for him. He has gotten over he has 10 movies that he's done that he has done with the short film format. And like I mentioned before, I love short films. I do. I think they're great. Um, and they've been around for quite a while, the short film genre, and I think it's a great way for a director to cut their teeth. He or she can learn how to make a film and experiment. Oh my gosh, what a great time to experiment! Experiment on shots, camera lighting, different techniques. Just so much to learn, but at the same time deliver a solid story. I love short films. And let's see. Yes, that's it. Lone Wolf and Cub, the Baby Cart series. Yeah, I love that series. That's a badass one. I think you were the one that actually asked about Jim about Mr. Dan not covering that one. That's a good one. That's a good one to cover because it's both martial arts and Western. There was a lot of that during the 60s and 70s. There was a lot more than I realized of Japanese Bushido code of Bushido, and the Old West. Yeah, but I love that series too. All right. So let me tell you what's coming on the some. Let me tell you what's coming on the show. Who's coming on the show? Okay. Tomorrow night we'll be talking with Kayla Marr. We'll be here tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. Friday we have a special show for us. On December 6th, we will be talking with actress um, Chase Cortez de Vargas. I just want to say that name like more than once because I actually got that name right. I think. I think. I think I got her first name right. Um, but she'll be here with us on Friday. On the 10th of December, we will be talking with Ed Castaneda, who runs Subliminal Films. He'll be here at 8 o'clock. On the 11th, we have filmmaker Brad Case. He'll be here on the 11th. I know a lot of filmmakers in December. Happy to see him too. On Thursday, the 12th, we'll be having an actress and cosplayer. Stephanie Ward will be with us. While she starred in Graveyard Shark, it looks like her strength lies in cosplay. And oh my gosh, I think there might be someone who might be given Vale a run for the money as far as creativity. The clothes that Stephanie has made for her cosplay. Wow. pretty damn spectacular if you ask me. Um, that's what I really like about the cosplay. It's not so much the costume; it's what went into it. My buddy, my late friend Jerome, he was not a small man. He was a big guy. He was bigger than me. He made by hand. He made his Black Panther suit. He made his Black Panther suit. Now, like I said, he didn't look anything like Black Panther in the movies or the comic books, but that's the beautiful thing about cosplays. Who cares? Nobody cares. As long as the costume's accurate, which it was, and you made it, which he did, you can walk inside any convention and own it. It's badass. So Stephanie will be here. Hopefully, we can get her to do one of her, well, if not wear one of her outfits, at least show off some of the techniques that she uses to make them. And like I said, her level of costume is right there with Vale's. And you've heard me mention many times about Vale. She was one of my first cosplayers I interviewed on the show, and she's simply awesome. Let's see. The six movies. Oh, the Lone Wolf and Cub. Six between 72 and 74. Yes, people really love that series. It was a massive hit in Japan. Massive. Big hit in the 70s too. Uh, but it's weird is that I don't remember seeing it a lot on, if any. I never really saw it ever on free TV back in the 70s. Back when we used to have three networks, and then we had a ton of independent TV stations. I don't remember the Baby Cart series being played on any station at all growing up. I do remember watching it on VHS. That was my first exposure to it, was on VHS. I don't think they ever played it on at least on any independent station around Los Angeles. All right. So Stephanie will be here on the 12th, and then on the 13th we welcome in the boys, Gary, Bob, Carrie, and Todd. They are the Snozfest podcast group, and they are also based in Metro Detroit, and they have a great show. I've listened to several of their shows already. Very well polished, very professional, a lot of fun. They do talk some sports too, and as a lot of people are talking a lot of sports this year because the Lions have finally come of age. The town is here in Metro Detroit. It is it is crazy popular right now. Not even the Michigan upsetting Ohio State uh, derailed that train. Everybody still wants to talk about the everyone still wants to talk about the Lions. Um, yeah, it's been a lot of fun watching. It's always fun when when you see a team that has not done anything and they finally get off the schneid and do it. It is a lot of fun. I'm speaking as a Yankee fan. Um, and I know a lot of people might be upset about this, as far as fandom goes. But if you are, then you're not a fan. I'm a fan of baseball first. I'm a Yankees fan, but I'm a baseball fan first. And I had no problem at all watching Boston win in 2004. In fact, I told my friend Jack, who was a diehard Red Sox fan, I told him that they were going to come back and get the Yankees. I told him, I said, you got this. So down 3-0, you still got this. And that's exactly what happened. Because as a Yankee fan, I know the strength and the weaknesses of the team. And it was pretty easy to spot the weakness of that team. Um, so the Lions right now are white hot. We'll probably talk about the boys a little bit about the Lions and what's it like in Metro Detroit, the buzz, people talking about the team, and so we'll be talking with them about other things about around Detroit as well. Downtown Detroit has seen a renaissance. There's a lot of things happening in Detroit, and will it continue? Will it continue? um, going forward, or will it take a massive step back? Because it's gonna be. I do believe that our governor will be targeted very heavily um, by the right wing, and they'll try to get her out of there. Um, but well, that's another story for another day. Uh, so put your hands together though, and welcome in filmmaker Kit Wilson, and we are ready to go to a land of fun and enchantment. And here we go.
Howdy, can you hear me?
Yes,
Super.
welcome in. Let me clear this. All right, all right. Seems like we just did this.
Not too long ago.
That's right. That's right. Um, yeah, let's sharing off. We're talking a little bit of short films. We're talking a little bit about the Baby Cart series. You ever watch that show?
No,
The Baby Cart series, Lone Wolf and Cub.
no. Is that a streamer or a network?
That would be from the early '70s.
Huh.
So it would probably be playing on the Criterion channel,
Uh-huh.
where streaming goes. I'm not sure where else it goes, where else you can find it at. I do know that it got a Criterion release. It's 6 movies that was made in a 2 year period, 2 3 year period,
In the
and
70s.
it was phenomenal. It's
Huh.
phenomenal, but it is bloody as hell.
Really? Well,
It's
I'm thinking about subscribing to Criterion because I think they have some really good titles in their catalog. So, yeah.
Criterion is our like I collect physical media,
Mhm.
and so but I'm what they call a budget baller. And that means I go around and I look for movies that I can get for the cheapest price possible.
Sure.
And luckily for me, my library is like that. I go over to my library every Tuesday, and they get donations sent into them,
All right.
and it's amazing. I've had 3 straight weeks of just crazy finds, and they sell their movies for a quarter a piece or 25 cents a disc.
Wow.
So you're paying like a 25 cents for a movie, up to 75 to maybe a dollar for a season of TV show.
It's amazing. Yeah.
It
That's
is.
can't beat the price.
No, I watch these guys. The thing is too, is like once in a blue moon, once in a blue moon, a Criterion will float through the shelves.
Mhm.
And when I first started this, I didn't have any Criterions, but I've gotten maybe out of my 37, I think I've gotten like 28 or 29 from the library.
They're
And,
expensive titles if you buy them on the regular market.
oh my gosh! Well, the only time I ever saw Criterion, and this is before I got into collecting films, was I remember going to Barnes and Noble and walking over there and seeing these Criterion films, and they're like, between 40 and 50 bucks a piece, and I'm just like staring at it, and I'm going like, that's absolutely insane. And I'm looking at the clerk and going like, you're charging 50 bucks for a movie? He goes, yeah, 50 bucks. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
And
crazy. Well, there's a. I've been reading on social media for the last 6 months or so that even Gen Z is starting to swing over to digital format cataloging as opposed to streaming because they're getting burnt out with all the different titles on streamers that aren't of any interest, and they can't get their hands on the quality films that aren't around anymore on these streamer catalogs. So they're going in and buying the regular discs.
yeah. I went this week. This week I went over there, and I think a gentleman, like, one of the ways that we get the movies into the library, it's unfortunate, but it happens once in a while where someone will pass away, and their spouse will donate the collection into the library.
Sure.
Uh, and that's what happened this week, because there wasn't that a whole lot, but what was there was all older films, and they were really good films, real strong.
Hmm.
And um, And the lady had, who runs the library had came over and said, there's not any new releases, but there's a lot of older films. And as soon as she said that, I'm going, okay, so that I'm sure there's going to be at least one Criterion here. And I got one. I was like, I knew there was going to be one. I had hoped that there had been a lot more, but I got the one, so I was happy about that. Um, and you're right. I mean, but I see people go shopping at like when the Severn has their sale or Vinegar Syndrome or Kino Lorber. People are sitting there. Criterion has their sale twice a year, half price, and I'm watching all these guys, and they're bringing back a movie, and they're going like, okay, so I got this, I got this movie here, I got, it was only $40, and I'm like 40. That's almost like 3 months at the library for me,
Yeah, yeah,
and and I'm pulling out like 18 to 25 for $5, and they're great movies. Yeah, but I do hope you're right. I do hope you're right in that that they will be coming back. Black Friday came by and I didn't see anybody pull anything from stores. Okay, I went to the Target or I went to Best Buy like in the old days. They're trying basically to force viewing habits to change, and
sure.
people they don't like it. You're right. They're resisting it.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, the people went back to vinyl. People, it's amazing what is happening in terms of backtracking and seeing what the quality of life was 40 years ago, 50 years ago, and yeah, I can see, if you're a serious film enthusiast and you want to curate a quality film, you can't expect the streamer to keep it on their catalog for more than a couple of years at the most, and then it's gone. So even if you've subscribed to it and you could go back there within that window of time, eventually it's going to be gone, and then you're going to have to go out looking for the actual media where you can show it again when you're ready. So yeah,
I like the ones that'll sit there and tell you that you can get it on digital, and all you're doing basically you're just renting it. And they say, well, you can own it on digital. No, you don't own anything on digital. You are
no,
at the mercy of your mercy at the streamer. I
yep,
mean, if they don't have the rights to it, off it goes. And the
yeah,
$30 that you paid for it, off it goes.
yeah, yeah.
Um, uh, I sure though that are you a big physical media collector yourself now?
Yes,
Do you have a
yeah.
collection yourself?
Yeah, I have been for the last, I don't know, 5 or 6 years, and I get very disappointed, going to places like thrift stores and secondhand stores and even garage sales, trying to look for the title that I don't have. And there's so much schlock and bad film out there that it gets discouraging.
Yeah, I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing because I'm thinking of the same thing. I mean, it's like if you go through it, you go through the movies on the shelves, and you're looking for the quality of the movie. You're looking for something that you don't have that's a good movie. And what kills me about yard sales is that yard sales are designed to move units. They're designed to clear out your house, and yet you go to some people's houses and they're charging like almost like they're charging like Goodwill prices. Well, yeah, you can. I'll sell you this DVD for $8. I thought you said you want to get rid of it. Well, I do. Well, you're not with that price. I mean, the only thing it's going to get rid of is going to get rid of out of my hand back to your bucket.
Yeah,
Um, I know people want they want the value of what they bought. Yeah, but I paid $30 for that. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. You paid $30 for that, and I respect that. But the marketplace, as it stands now, won't support a $30 used copy.
nope,
But it's the Game of Thrones. I understand that, but you're not going to sell it for $30. You're not going to sell it for 20. You're gonna, no. It's just people are used to that as part of the streaming thing is that they're used to paying low prices.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but speaking of Game of Thrones, um, you yourself are sitting on like a little small Game of Thrones because you are. I actually got really blessed this month. I'm getting to talk to a lot of short film filmmakers, and
Cool.
I love the format. You got 10 movies underneath your belt,
Actually, I'm 13.
13 underneath your belt as a director and producer, um, and um, and they're all short films.
Yep.
And most of the time, people get into that as a way to cut in their teeth because they're working their way to a feature film.
Sure. Absolutely.
Um, Now, before we get into how you got to right here, but I guess my first question to you will be: is that your goal right now? Is to reach for a feature film, or are
Yeah.
you perfectly happy doing short films?
Well, it's kind of a up and down roller coaster story, but I went. I moved up from Los Angeles to Seattle 12 years ago, and I had retired from advertising agencies in Los Angeles, and so I wanted to write, and I wrote novels and fiction work for about 2 years, and sold it on Barnes and Noble and Amazon. But I really wanted to create work that people in a mass amount of uh, audiences could enjoy in a visual manner. So I switched over to screenplays. It took me about 2 years to really get comfortable with it. But once I did, I started writing feature screenplays because that's the format that would allow me to tell the stories in the length that I wanted to tell them. But at the same time, I started to realize that any kind of networking opportunities I had in Seattle with Los Angeles was pretty much nothing. It just was zero. And there is no feature film production in Washington State at all. Periodically they will show up from time to time, but really there isn't any. So consequently, the resources that you would need for a feature film, whether it's crew, talent, locations, studios, wasn't there. And so I decided, while I'm sitting on these feature film screenplays, I might as well create a short film just so I can get into a festival and see if I can get some feedback. So I did that for the first year. That was 9 years ago. And then 9 years later, I've done my 13th. And so I keep, and fortunately, I've run into some enthusiastic artists in Seattle area that they're not full-time filmmakers, they're not full-time actors, but that's where their passion lies. And consequently, I'm able to network with them and get these short films made almost on a yearly basis. And so I'm happy with the quality. I'm happy with the results. I've been in 188 film festivals all over the world in the last 9 years, and I can't complain. I'm just still trying to crack that ceiling so I can start features, because I think after 13 short films, I'm ready to get behind a camera for a feature.
I think so too, and I think there's more from what I understand. I mean, I've talked to some people who are have been in Washington and Oregon, and yeah, it's not the biggest community, but it does seem to be growing a little bit as far as the filmmakers go. Um, as far as the building up the crew and because that's really important. That's really important. That's almost more important than having the talent, because you want to have lighting people and grip people, and what all the professionals, electricians, best boys, whatever they may be. You
Yeah,
want to have that, editors, special effects. You want those people there in your area, because without them, it's going to be very, very hard and very expensive to get your movie made on any level, be it
yeah,
or a feature.
yeah. And I found that when I first got up here and I was trying to connect with some really quality filmmakers, type people, whether they were cinematographers or they were even makeup artists, I found that the really good ones had finally packed their bags and moved to Los Angeles. So I had to hunt around for the next level that was not quite ready to leave the state, but getting there in terms of quality. And so I would latch onto them and use their resources, their talent, and manage to get a quality product made. But all the time in the back of my head, I realize they may be out of town the next time I get ready to make another film.
Right, right. Yeah, most short films are made anywhere between, you know, 2 to 5 months. I heard you mention that it takes about a year. And is that a year? Is that because of finding the talent to gather, to gather the talent together, and the crew, the professional crew together. Does it take that long to gather them together to
Well,
do a short
I
film?
did find out for my first 10 films that that's what I had to do because I was doing the producing as well as writing and directing. And as a producer, you're basically herding cats. So I would start out a year ahead of time, and give everybody a window of time at the end of that year to plug into it. So once I got my crew and my talent plugged into that window of time, it was about a year out because people go on vacations, people, change jobs, people, have our lives. So I had to make sure that everybody was nailed down at that period so we could get started in shooting a film. And that usually meant a year. Yeah. And that's from the time that I write it to the time that I start entering film festivals. So that's shooting, production, post-production, and then sending it out to festivals.
Now, you said that you retired from advertising from Los Angeles, and you moved up to the Northwest.
Mhm.
Now, had you already started your film journey already in Los Angeles, or did that happen to after you got to Washington? And
Yeah,
okay,
after I got to Washington. Yeah. Well, it's kind of funny because when I said I switched from fiction writing to screenwriting, um, I was just in a writer's mode. But the reality was that I wasn't getting any traction with my features, and so in order to do a short, I decided that hey, I've got to make sure that all the I's are dotted, the T's are crossed. So I just jumped in and decided, holy mackerel, when it's all said and done, I'm a filmmaker. And 12 years later, or 9 years later, and 13 films later, yeah, I'm a filmmaker.
have you ever thought about going back home to Los Angeles and settling down there and making your first feature, or do you feel it would be better for you to stay up in the Northwest?
Well, it's interesting that I have friends that are down in Los Angeles now, and they've been filtering down from Washington State for the last 6 or 7 years. And some of them have left the business and done something else. Some of them have left California and gone to Atlanta or gone to New Orleans. They're looking for work outside of the state because the Hollywood film system is in such a state of flux right now that it's really scaring off a lot of quality people. And I don't blame them because they want steady jobs. They want to be able to pay mortgages and put food on the table. And if it's an iffy situation, why not go to Atlanta? Why not go to Toronto, Vancouver, someplace where you're going to get a steady job? So the thought of going back down there and jumping into that shark pit isn't too appealing. I know that in terms of resources of gaffers, lighters, talent, it's there. But the reality is, having to swim upstream to connect with them isn't that appealing at my age. So I'm going to continue to hang here and see what happens.
Yeah, yeah, it's there. You're right. I mean, there are a lot. It used to be L.A. and New York were the end all, but at least during the last 3 years that I've been doing this, Georgia is white hot, Cleveland is white hot, Iowa's white hot.
New
There,
Mexico?
um, New Mexico's not bad. There's a lot of good Western films being made down there. Um, Louisiana has really worked hard at that. New York and Kentucky. And there's a lot of places now where not every movie is being generated through Los Angeles. A lot of these movies and a lot of these actors are now based on the East Coast or in the South.
Yeah, yeah,
It's a lot, the cost of living is a lot easier down there, and there seems to be more going on.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, Netflix built or is in process of building a $10 billion complex in Albuquerque, and I mean the buildings are there and they're doing production right now, but the end result is $10 billion. So they're serious about what they're doing there, and yeah, I hear about there's a major studio project that is almost completed, and I was surprised to hear today that they had been shooting half of it in Vancouver. And now they're flying the whole crew back to LA to finish up. But Vancouver is doing just great. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Canada is. I mean, they have so much talent up there. It's ridiculous. Um, you got a lot of the family films up there. You got a lot of sci-fi creature feature films up there. They used to you can look on the cast and tell where it was already filmed in Canada.
Mhm.
Of course, just about everything that Great American Family does or Hallmark movie does, it's all based on in Canada as well.
Yep.
Canada, there's been some tremendous talent coming out of there. Um, I know people are commenting how like everything's slowing down. But with that being said, have you seen that on your side of the? Have you seen it in your area of the woods? I mean, does it seem to be slowing down in the Northwest, or does it seem to be because there's not that many people there in terms of filmmaking, or does it seem to be on the rise?
No, I can't. Honestly, I can't say it's on the rise. I mean, I know that there's folks out there that live up here that wish that was the case, but I don't see that. I see 48-hour, 72-hour film competitions going on in Seattle, where the passionate filmmakers will bind together in teams and make these short projects that go on a screen, at the end of the week, and they get all jazzed. But the reality is that's not filmmaking. That's just competition. And as far as serious filmmaking goes on, well, there's just a handful of people that are trying to swim upstream and make it happen here. But the reality is, Vancouver is doing so well, and Portland, even though they've lost a lot of television and feature film work over the last couple of years, they're still hanging in there, and not all the talent has left town. So consequently, I'm in contact with a couple of directors and producers down in Portland that they're trying to get things done, and and of course the tax incentive, in Oregon is a whole lot better than Washington. So if there's going to be any Los Angeles projects come north, it's going to come to Portland or all the way to Vancouver.
I sort of get the impression you're not the biggest fan of the 48 hours film challenges.
Well, it's just not my bag. I mean, I guess maybe I'm too old, and because I had so many years in advertising, that I was used to working with some serious budgets and going into a studio and shooting, a television commercial, or working on, an outdoor, car commercial. And so I'm used to the level of professionalism that is embedded in a team like that. When you do a 48-hour film competition, you don't know who you're going to get on the team. I mean, these people are coming off the streets willing and able to make a short film for a competition, but you have no idea the quality of work they're going to do. And it's not my bag. It's not my way of doing things. So yeah.
I saw in Iowa they had a 48-hour film challenge. They had like 51 teams in it.
That's
51. No, we're not talking off the street. We're not talking off the street. We're talking like there's 51 teams of people who work together. That to me, when I look at a competition like that, and they say there's 51 teams, that means there's 51 different people producing film. That's a hell of a lot for Iowa.
Yeah.
I know Cleveland's been really good. I've seen some of the movies that come out of Cleveland, and I would match them up with anybody. That's what I love about short films. Short films are just flipping amazing, because and you coming back with an advertising background, now I can understand why your films stand out and over 180 film festivals, because you do have a major advantage. You know how to tell a story in less than 5 minutes or 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's usually 15 to 20 for me. Most of my
Okay.
projects are 15 to 20. Yeah. I started out at 15 because I kept getting these warning flags from people saying, hey, if you're going to get into a festival with a short, you better be 15 minutes because they're going to block it with some features, and it better fit their puzzle in terms of how many films they screen in an hour. So I did 15-minute films for about 6 years, and then I decided to get brave and do a 20-minute film, and it got in festivals. So the last couple of ones, were 20 minutes. So that seems to fly okay. But you don't want to stretch it too much beyond that, because you're going to make some programmers angry.
Yeah, isn't that something? You're making a vision, and it goes 20 minutes or 17 minutes, and somebody's gonna actually have the audacity to be mad. It's like, what are you mad about? Well, because it's not 21 minutes. It's supposed to, it's 22 minutes. Who cares? It's a story.
Yeah.
Go in there and judge it on the quality of its work, not
Yeah.
by the bank account.
Yeah.
Look, anything was what's that saying? anything over 70 minutes now is considered anything up to 70 minutes or over. It's considered a short film. Now a feature film is now considered 70 minutes.
Well,
So I
yeah,
mean,
a lot of the feature films right now that are coming out, at least on the streamers, are 90 minutes. And that used to be considered a truncated feature, but because features usually ran 110, 120 minutes, something like that. But now to shrink them down to 90 minutes, that's a challenge.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I personally have no problem with a longer movie. Like I remember the criterion I was mentioning that I got was The Unbearable Lightness of Being. I remember when that movie came out, Kit. I remember when that movie came out, and the one thing I remember about that movie was people were complaining about how length of time it was because it's almost 3 hours long.
Well, that's a
There's
long
no-
script.
it's a long, but you know what? It's common today. A 3 hour long movie. Oh, that saddle me up. And we're not talking about heavy ass Oscar movies, like Titanic. We're talking like cartoon movies are now, 2 hours and 20 minutes or 2 hours and 40 minutes long. I mean, it's like it's a cartoon character. Yeah,
Yeah.
but you know, uh, hmm. So how did you get? How I obviously you got into this business through advertising. What advertising house did you work in? How did you get into advertising? What,
Oh,
you
it's a
know,
long story. I started in Dallas, working for advertising agents there, and then I came from a trip in the Caribbean after a year and decided to move to a place that had more water than Dallas. So I moved to Seattle and was there for a while, and then I moved back down to California, where I had originally grown up, and right outside of Los Angeles, and decided to get married and start a family. So LA was the place where all the resources were. If you're going to do advertising and do quality advertising, why not, access the kind of talent that's in Los Angeles? So everything from, models, photographers, studios, locations, makeup artists, costumes, it's all there. And all you had to do at that time is pick up the phone and, nail it, and you're good to go. So plus, I was for 30 years doing the advertising gig. You were given a budget at the beginning of the year for a certain client and say, okay, how do you want to spend that money? And I would look at the competition for the client and realize they're spending X amount of dollars in radio, X amount of dollars in TV, X amount of dollars in print. So we're going to divvy up that money and at least be competitive with that client or that competitor. And then once I got the money spread up with broadcast production, print, whatever, then we decided, what kind of a campaign we're going to create for them. How much is that going to cost in terms of their dollars? And then go in there and negotiate with studios, the photographers, you name it. So there was a generalized way of approaching creative work that I got used to, and that's kind of how it's carried over to my filmmaking as well.
well, I tell you what, you're the perfect person to ask these questions because I've always felt like, we always hear about the box office, what drives the box office. We hear people talking about the movies costing this much money or making this much money. Um, I've always felt like whatever someone comes up there and says, they spent $200 million on Joker. I've always thought that, quite honestly, always thought that was just bullshit. That they, they say, well, yeah, well, we had to pay for, after the production cost, we had to go out there and pay for advertising. And a lot of times I just look at that and go like a movie like Moana or The Joker or whatnot, and you just call bullshit because it's like it's a built-in property. Everybody knows about it already. What are you gonna spend $100 million for? I mean, you can't justify spending $100 million on a major IP when it's already so well known. Is that part of the game when it comes down to Hollywood and advertising?
Yeah, because
Like,
right now, if you look at a budget of any major release, and you used to be able to see it on IMDb, but I don't think they're showing dollar figures anymore. But anyway, if you look at the budget of a major IP release, you're going to see so many dollars for production, and then you're going to see so many dollars for P&A, print and advertising. And the formula is 50% of your production budget goes to P&As. So that's up front, and the accounting folks in the accounting department realize when it's all said and done, and you're looking at the tax people or your investors or your board of directors on the studio, you're telling them half of that budget went to P&As, and that's
And
how
it
you.
didn't. Where does it really go, Kit?
Well, it depends on how they want to spread it out. I mean, it can go to social media, it can go to print advertising, it can go to broadcast advertising, it can go to billboards up and down the freeway. I mean, it can go to a lot of different places. But now that they're doing these social media digital algorithms that to determine, okay, this Disney project has X million, viewers on Facebook or X million followers on Instagram. Therefore, because it has such a large market already, we're going to put our dollars there because that's a fixed market that's ready to see the product. Whereas if you've got a project that is not very well known, maybe it's an indie project, and you've got just a small market out there that knows about the project, then you're going to have to pump a lot of dollars into that promotion to get the bigger ticket sales. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just watching this, and I'm watching these movies come out and like that, and I'm going like, man, they're saying they have to spend all these millions of dollars on these big budget movies, and I'm going like, why? If it's already known out there, they don't really need to do that. It's already known, and now thanks to social media. Think about it. I mean, you want to advertise your movie. You go through social media. Sure, there's a lot out there competing against it, but you still got an advantage in the fact that people do know the brand. Like we know Kit Wilson is a Kit Wilson directed movie. That already by someone going up there director Kit Wilson has got a new movie out just by writing that as on social media. I just something that you would have paid someone thousands of dollars to write, get that out there in print. Um, now you get it done for free. Now because people will talk about the movie, they'll talk about talk about what you've been doing.
Well,
Have
there's
you?
a whole science to advertising on social media, and you can talk to well-paid experts that do advertising on social media, and they'll tell you that based on the size of the market in these streaming platforms, you can put your dollars in there at specific dates, at specific times, and depends if you're going for a teen market, you're going for a young adult market, whatever. And then once you've zeroed in those dollars, pump it in there and see what happens. And yeah, they've got the formula down pretty good. But I think there was a time back in the early 2000s when those kinds of big tent pole films were demanding that kind of money. So the formula was, if you got $100 million to produce the film, half of that, 50 million, is going to go into P&As, and that's just the formula. And everybody in Hollywood got in line and decided that's the way to do it. But if you've got films like RoboCop 2, they were filming that project, and they were test screening it in Los Angeles, and they were getting bad reviews on the ending. So they didn't release it. They took it back into the studio, spent another $25 million to tack on an ending that was going to be pleasing to an audience. I mean, wow, 25 million. That's an indie.
Now you're talking. Yeah, I've been hearing that with the new Captain America film. They've had to take it back for this. I guess now it's like the fourth round of reshoots because they've done testing on it, and it's just not testing well at all. It's of course you feel really bad for Anthony Mackie, but overall it's like it's not testing well at all because it's just not a very good movie. Um, when you make your budget for your films, it was really ironical too in PA print advertising, which really is ironical because, like I said, I go to the library, and I'm sitting there, and I've been going there every week for the last 2.5 years. And it's interesting is watching print shrink.
Yeah.
Like, less magazines are on the shelf, and you
Yeah.
see them go off, and to me, I'm going like, okay, so you're a print advertiser. Are you going to be sitting out there trying to get get the maximum money you can for a project, or are you going to be sitting there going like, I'm going to try instead of getting $4 million and getting that big bang, like, okay, yeah, we get that big $4 million deal. or maybe go there instead of doing the $4 million deal, maybe doing 4 movies for $1 million a piece, and helps lengthen that lifespan of that magazine out a little bit more and more.
Yeah.
Um, because now it seems to me, because it seems to me that to get a movie made, it costs a lot less to advertise social media wise than it does print.
That's true if you know what you're doing. Yeah, otherwise you're just kind of throwing it out like spaghetti on a wall and hoping something sticks. But if you know what you're doing, it can be effective. You know, if you want to roll out a feature film in the marketplace, you've got to start planning for P&As a good year out. And then, you know, depending on if it's a seasonal project like a Christmas movie, or it's a Disney summertime movie, or, you know, Oscar competition fall type movie, then you've got to plan when you're going to start pumping the dollars into the promotions and advertising, and whether it's on TV or it's, you know, in the trades like Variety or Hollywood Reporter, you know, because you can start a buzz in Hollywood if you start advertising in those kind of print publications, because everybody consumes those publications even today. So if they're seeing that there's a big tentpole coming down the road from Disney or Paramount or Warner Brothers, the buzz is going to start. So you want to, you know, kind of add the kindling wood to the buzz as you get closer to the release. And who knows, you know, you can stoke it that way.
I was gonna say, and you're right. You put that article and you know, you put that in a trade and get the buzz going. You don't really have to do anything much more than that. You know,
Well,
because like,
another good thing though is they also send the talent out to film festivals. Like they'll go to Cannes and they'll start beating the drum about it, the project in Cannes or Venice or Berlin or Toronto. Those are early enough, and Sundance. Those are early enough festivals in the year that by the time it gets released to theatrical release, there's already been a big buzz started.
right. And the only thing you really have done as far as cost goes is just made your movie. You
Yeah.
know, if you know a friend in the you know, if you know a friend, or you have or the cast is a little bit interesting, they'll do all the heavy work for you, right? They'll get out there. You know, it's like they're not charging you to write about your new movie. You know, what are we gonna put out this month? Well, Kit Wilson has a new movie out. Well, yeah, see if he wants to pay $50,000 for us to write about it. They don't do that.
No,
Uh,
and if they go to Cannes and they're hearing, you know, a well-known actor or actress sitting on a dais taking Q&As after screening the film, they're going to write all they want to write, and it's going to be free.
wow. So you must be pretty excited though. You know, to think about this. I mean, obviously, is your next project? Is that what you're gearing up for? Are you gearing up for your first feature film? I mean,
A
or will
little of
you
both.
do one, or will you do one more, maybe short, get it out there, and then make a run at it for a feature film?
Well,
And
I've got number 13, which is in post production right now. We've got a VFX post production artist working on it. I've got a composer, sound designer working on it, and then we'll hand it over to a color mixer grader, and then I'm hoping to have it completed and starting its life in the circuit in the festival circuit probably around January. So once we launch that, I can seriously button down a feature that I'm writing now. This is my 15th feature screenplay that I'm writing, but I'm serious about getting some traction with one of those 15 features. Yeah. Interesting side note, I've had two agents in the last 9 years. And the first agent I had it was a year. And I dropped her because she literally lived in Beverly Hills, and said, you know, she approached me via social media and wanted to represent me. So I figured, okay, I can't be in Beverly Hills. Go for it. You know, shop my work. And a year later, she hadn't had a single script read by anybody. So about 2 years later, 3 years later, I hooked up with a manager agent that had offices in LA, Atlanta, New York, and London. And I figured, okay, here's somebody with some networking experience. I signed a 2-year contract. She's going to rep my work. 2 years later, hadn't had a single script read by anybody. So talk about frustrating. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Uh, you know, festivals have their own own bottle of woe, and it's a tough one too. I love short films. Um, I do. I love short films very much. I'm not that high on festivals though, because I've seen some I worked in the music business for 10 years, and I've seen some of the shenanigans that get played out. Whether it be someone's more popular than somebody else, or someone comes in with a bigger star cast. Listen, your movie could have a great cast in it, on name. Doesn't mean it's going to be the best movie.
No, no.
Um,
In fact, let's see, I almost lost my train of thought. I was in Provo, Utah for a year when Bob Redford started Sundance. And he had a little ski resort there that it was kind of his hobby. And the college kids at BYU would ski there. And he decided, you know what, I'm going to open up a film festival here downtown Provo and call it Sundance Film Festival. And for the first couple of years, no one showed up. It was just like ghost town, up and down the streets of Provo. But he decided, you know what, I'm going to have my friends in LA come to the festival, and the press will follow the friends because they're all star quality friends. And before you know it, Sundance became a thing. And there's programs that are professional programs. They go from film festival to film festival, and in their top pocket is their top 10 short films or feature films that they want to see highlighted in a festival. So when they walk in the door of XYZ festival, they've already got 10 films that they want to see in the mix when they're doing their programming. And if yours isn't one of their top 10, you may not be in the festival.
right. And that includes even if you paid for it. Have you had a film looked at Sundance? Have you had, because I think that's, was it Tribeca is one of them, and Sundance is another one. What's the I know Toronto film festivals out there. What are some of the other festivals, major festivals, that actually will handle a short film?
That's a good question. That's a very good question. I think the top 5, there's Cannes, Berlin, Toronto, Sundance, and one more. Tribeca is coming up. It's still kind of an upstart young festival, but those are the majors. And depending on, like you've got established festivals like Cannes or even Toronto, where they're bound to have some heavyweight talent show up to produce their projects, and all the paparazzi is going to be there. And so there's going to be a lot of buzz around it. Venice, especially, and Cannes, and so the little guys, the indies and the short film guys, they've got to play some kind of a game to get into those festivals and get any kind of recognition. But go for it. That's what I say. Go for it. But
what was it like for you to get your first movie in to a festival? Talk to us about your first film. Did you have, how did that? Okay, so let's do this. What was the first film that you took to a festival? Was it your very first film that you took to the festival, or was okay?
Yeah.
So what was the process like for you? You're a rookie filmmaker. You got your first film, and you wanted to get seen. So what did you do? How did you get your film on the circuit?
Well, I knew that trying to jump in and go to the big festivals is kind of a very risky ploy, and also it's very expensive. The big festivals charge big bucks for submissions. So if you want to go to Cannes, you want to go to Berlin, you want to go to Toronto, figure out at least $200 to enter the festival. And I wasn't going to do that. So what I did was I tried to see, one, that if I could get into some Washington State festivals, so at least my cast and crew could bring their families and show them the project. And then 2, I started cherry picking festivals that I thought would be in the Los Angeles area, so I could get some film types down there to see my work. So I had to be very selective, and all my projects are coming through Film Freeway, which is kind of a warehouse for films that go into the festival market. And they've got thousands of festivals in there, and you can literally do a search for how much you want to spend for entry. How many years has it been in existence? How far back do you have to be to pre-submit and get a good deal? Otherwise, you get closer to the festival, and you're going to pay more and more and more. So You play all those games before you decide where you want to jump.
See, what I don't like, this is what kills me. This is why I don't have the same love affair with festivals like some others do, and that is what I really don't like is the fact that I've gotten, I've had many filmmakers come up to me and talk about their projects, and we'll have them on the show or what have you. But then you can't review them. You can't review any of the like I like if you sent me your 13 films today, the first question I'm asking is, are any of these in festival right now? Because festivals on a whole will not, especially Sundance. I hear Sundance is the worst, and that is the Sundance wants your first. It wants to be the premier place.
Yeah, yeah,
If that means it ran, if Sundance ran at the last week of December, for the year, and you submitted it in March, and for them to tell you, well, in order for you to submit to us, you can't show it to anybody. You can't have any reviews on it. To me, I cannot. To me, that is like the death knell of people. It's like, so you're telling me that I got to trade off, maybe, because there's no guarantee, maybe being seen at Sundance versus like if I play anywhere else, if I go play at Carmel or Los Angeles or San Francisco, my film cannot be considered now for Sundance because,
yes.
yeah, I have a major problem with that, because to me, I think the job of a festival is to promote the art and the artists.
What?
That's not to make money. That's not the point of short films. Short films don't make you money. Short
Right.
films train you. They help you develop. A movie making core.
Yeah,
That's what a short film's supposed to do. So when you see these people sitting there to put their hands out, going, "Yeah, $200 or $300," it's like, why are you charging people for short? Like, if you want to do feature films, okay, maybe, all right. But short films, look, at least a feature film has a fighting chance to make money back.
yeah, yeah,
Short films, no one, only festivals. We actually go to a festival where you can see short films, like XYZ Short Film Festival. Okay, we know what it is. We know that's what they're doing. And filmmakers know that too. They know that, okay, I'm going to go to XYZ film. I'm going to submit there because that's what it's all about. But the cost of it's almost like someone says, well, it's almost like someone looking for something easy, an easy way to make money. They could either
that's why there's so many festivals.
right. I mean, they can start a church, or they can start a film festival.
Yep,
The
yep,
two easiest ways to make with the least amount of work to make money.
yeah. Well, I found that when I first started submitting, I did an experiment one year. I submitted only to film festivals that highlighted or shown short films, and then I went back and decided, the reality is I got better results when I submitted a short film in a festival that had both long form featured films and short films. So that was kind of an interesting test. And also, if you make a very specific genre film, whether it's sci-fi or fantasy or horror or whatever, you're going to probably get some longevity right at the beginning if you submit to festivals that pertain to that genre, like a horror only festival or a fantasy or sci-fi festival only, because that's your audience. And if you get some good feedback from that, if you get some some mileage out of that, then you can take that and go to some regular festivals and submit with that kind of inertia behind it.
Now, what films do you specialize in? Are you mostly a dramatic short films? Are you comedy? Are you doing horror? I
Mine
mean,
are basically kind of Twilight Zone meets David Lynch.
okay, that's
So
not a bad combo.
no, I started with a kind of a dramatic theme, and then I do some fantasy or mind-bending twists towards the end. So they don't always land in one genre.
See, that's interesting too, because I'm thinking about when you said that about the Twilight Zone. And I'm thinking about when they brought it back a couple of times, they broke it off into an anthology series. And before, Twilight Zone used to do half hour shows with just one story.
Yeah,
And then what they did, then they broke it off and they started doing short films. Like there'd be maybe 3 films per hour or per 40 minutes, which is more an anthology than it is more than anything else.
yeah.
Um, yeah. Um, but so I mean, man, I'm just trying to think of, that would be, I don't know. I guess it would be better to. I guess is it better to be known really, really well for doing one thing really, really well, or is it better to be known for doing, you know, 10 things decently well?
Well, the only person I can think of that does that well is Steven Spielberg. Otherwise, stay in your lane.
Oh, right, right. So if you do horror films, stay with horror.
Yeah, I'm not saying that those are the hard and fast rules, but if you've got something that works and it's successful, then stick with it and do it better. Continue to do it better.
I agree with you about that, kid. I totally agree with that. I think if you here's how I look. Here's how I look at it. You go ahead and you make, let's say you're into horror. Okay, you do 3 or 4 horror films, shorts. You got a winning product here. You got a winning script, a good cast. You go ahead and you cover and you do that first film. Then you come back down and then you do that feature film. Because you just never know.
Yeah,
Go ahead and do that feature film and see where it goes. It might pop, it might not, but at least now you know. And then if you do it really, really well, to me, it's like the better you do, the more opportunities you'll get, instead of just being hammered by, yeah, that's the horror guy doing that guy's the short film horror guy.
mhm.
You don't want to get I mean, you really don't want to get labeled as a short film filmmaker, do you?
Yeah,
I think that's got to be even worse than it is for a feature film.
well, it's funny. I read these articles in these screenwriting magazines, and they say, for a screenwriter, go out and make your first short film, and then once you do that, jump in and do your feature. Well, I can't recommend that because I've just finished my 13th short film, and now I feel I'm ready for a feature. But because there's too many things that can go wrong on a set, and if you want to jump from one short film into a feature film, good luck.
Oh my gosh, I've seen now that is one thing I have seen with mixed results. I've seen that with mixed results where someone has made a short film and they turn it into a feature film. Sometimes that works. The one movie I think of right off the bat was a short film that I ran across, and I actually ran across it right when it came out. Um, I saw it on a site, and it just got released, and they're talking about it. It was a movie called Cargo. That movie was awesome. There's another movie. There's
Is
been
that,
there's
is that a Japanese or an Asian film?
Australian.
Okay. And was that about an immigrant gal that gets stuck on a cargo ship that she's in a container? Somehow she gets in a cargo container and it gets put on a ship, and she's out in the middle of the ocean, and there's this big storm, and the container drops over into the ocean. She's literally trying to survive in this container floating around the ocean. Is that it?
No, I haven't seen that one. This Cargo was an Australian, and it was about a zombie outbreak. And this family, a mom and a dad and a baby, they're trying to escape it, but unfortunately, the mom got bit, and so she in turn ended up biting the dad. So now the dad knows he's infected. So what he does was he knows he's dying. So he puts his baby in the back, and the back puts a little balloon on there saying, hey, like a red balloon, because everybody's attracted to the balloon. And then he puts meat. He puts like a part of a body. He puts it in front of him. So he's always attracted by that and not by his daughter in the back. And so he walks and he dies. So now he becomes a zombie. And as he's walking, and the little baby's behind him, and then some survivors see him, they shoot him, And then they go and they find the baby, and the guy had written a story about what happened. This is my daughter. Please take care of her, and I trust that you will. Please take. And it was it's like 7 or 8 minutes long, and
Really?
there's no yeah, it's magnificent. They
Those Australians,
I
they make some.
love the huh.
I was gonna say those Australians make some interesting films.
Oh my gosh, they turned around, then they turned around and they made it into a feature length film, 90-minute film. It lost everything. It lost everything what made it so good. It didn't translate.
Yeah,
And what really didn't translate was the casting. Because before there was a guy who was just a young actor, no one knows who he was. He comes out there, he's the reason why the movie works. But of course, the higher ups being what they are, they say, well, yeah, well, we can't use him, even though he's the one that made the movie so successful. We're gonna get Martin Freeman to do it. And I'm like, I like Martin Freeman. I enjoy his movies. I have a lot in my collection, but it was all wrong. It was told they ruined the movie. They should have left. If you're gonna, I mean, I don't think they should have remade it. And then if you are gonna remake it with you got here for a reason. Stay with it. Stay with what you got. That got you here. But I've seen several short films that have been stretched out, and it's like it's not that it's a great premise for a short film, but there's not necessarily great premise for a feature length film.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Well,
uh,
fortunately, when I was writing feature films first, and then when I decided to dive in and do a short film, it was kind of with that mindset that if this ever got made into a feature, I know how to stretch it out. So all the short films that followed it that had that premise that the characters, the locations, the time period could be stretched out. So if someone went to a festival and saw my short film and said, "Hey, do you want to make a feature out of this?" I would feel comfortable saying, "Yeah, I can write it. I can make it happen."
how often a day do you, or a week or a month? How often do you write every day?
It's a lot. It's almost like 3 days a week, 4 days a week. Yeah, and it depends on whether it's a rewrite or it's a brand new project, and because I do both. Yeah.
Now, do you ever co-write with anybody, bounce any ideas off, or do you ever like meet up with other actors and other other crew members just to talk, see what's going on in town?
Well,
Who,
I do that. I do try to stay in contact with my talent or crew, but I don't. I've had people approach me wanting to co-write a project, and whether it's TV or feature film, and I just didn't feel comfortable doing that because I just didn't want to get into a battle of creative wills. And I know myself and I know my comfort level when it comes to writing, so I figured I better do it by myself. But yeah, it's a challenge. It's a super challenge.
so, what was your first short film? Or what made you? I know it by your IMDb, but I ask you this because I want you to talk about it with me. So what was the first short film that you did on your own? And had you worked on any other projects as crew or PR? I'm sure you get a lot of questions about that. Um, uh, 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 and I'm so glad you're here for this too, because that's one of the things I'm fully vested in is, especially in today's world, is press.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah. Well, my
know,
first film was called Trick Shop, and it was basically a female lead actress story about a young woman in Seattle whose father dies, and he was a professional magician, and so he left a trunk to her in part of his will. And so she opens the door one day at her apartment, and there's this trunk full of magic press releases and photographs and paraphernalia. And in the end, it is an invitation for her to meet up with an ex female assistant that used to work with her dad as a traveling magician show. So the story winds up that the one assistant turns out to be her mother, and so that was the premise of the story, was her journey towards finding her mother. And I had never worked on a film set before, but I worked in a lot of studios with photographers before, and models, and lighting people, and makeup artists. So I was not intimidated by it at all. And I have the patience to sit there and watch the gaffers and the camera people set up the lights. So that doesn't bother me. It bothers a lot of folks, but hey, that's the process, and you got to deal with it.
Gosh,
But
really?
yeah,
People get bothered by setup?
oh yeah, oh yeah. Whether it's actors or it's uh, experienced directors, whatever, they want to move right along and make sure that things are speeding right along. And hey,
Sure.
you're creating art, and so if you want to let the gaffers and the lighting and the DPs, the focus pullers, give you a good picture, you better sit back and watch them do their thing, and then you can jump in and capture the magic that's on the screen.
Man, I can't imagine anybody being grumpy about that. I mean, to me, it's like, wow. You want me to step aside and you go ahead and step in and do it. I mean, we can. You got 20 of us here. Do you want us to all step out and let you just, go ahead and take over and set up the lights and carry the equipment in, or, man, I yeah, I just can't imagine anybody being a prima donna during a shoot. I know they are. I do know they are, but it'd be like one of those things where it's like, yeah, let me come talk to you for a minute about this. Listen, this may be your ball game. This is your script, your baby, it's like your family. We all get that, but man, you cannot ride a horse and put it away wet.
Yeah,
You gotta these people are gonna take you to where you want to go. So don't rush them. Don't rush them. Don't yell at them. Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. Um, so your first film came out. You were ready for it. Who's your actor? How did you get your actors for your first film? Did you cast yourself, or did you hire a casting service? Or were they just friends?
now they're just professional talent, and I was used to interfacing with talent agencies in Los Angeles. So I would just pick up the phone if I went to a website and I saw talent that I thought would approximate the character, and I'd start talking to the people at the agencies and say, is this person available? Can I see some reels? See them, in front of a camera. And once I made my decision, I would contact them, and we'd negotiate a time and a fee, and we'd do some maybe table reads, maybe some rough rehearsals, but otherwise jump into it and get it done. And I've been very pleased with the quality of talent that I've worked with, and I've at points I'll be in, like, midway through a script, and I'll start visualizing my talent, and I'll literally contact agencies, whether it's in Portland, because I've done that before, or Seattle, and tell them, hey, I'm looking for such and such a look for person. Can you send me some images? And if better than that, can you send me some clips of them performing? And that's how I kind of weed through the process. And I worked on one film that had a casting director, and I think they did a pretty good job. I was directing. I wasn't actually producing it or writing it. I was just directing. So I appreciate their efforts and I appreciate the work. But the reality is, when I'm writing my own stuff and I'm directing my own stuff, I feel comfortable casting as well.
I'm looking through some of the names that you have for the first film. You looks like you have some professional talent there, like you said. And I noticed that right off the bat. You definitely went to work with some skilled operators. Uh, was that really important to you for the first film, to get everything as professional as you possibly could? I know sometimes during making short films, because a lot of people forget too that not only is the director learning and feeling his way about, but so is the talent. That might be their first film. That might be their first time on a set. This might be their first time being asked to do an intimate scene, or this might be the first time they've been asked to drink on camera or smoke on camera. They could have a hard time remembering a script. I mean, there's a lot of things, for a first timer to go through. And to me, that's what I really love about short films, is that it allows them to make mistakes without costing a director like millions of dollars.
Yeah, I strictly, I guess I was spoiled in Los Angeles. You know, I don't want to work with anybody that's not professional and got some mileage under their belt. So my talent steps on the set, and they know their lines. They know what to expect from me, and we get the job done, and we enjoy it. You know, we're creating some magic there, and I don't want to take gambles with people that haven't been in front of a camera, that are only maybe, you know, a couple of projects under the belt. I want to make sure that they're super professional, and it's going to show in the end product.
Now I'm looking at some of the casts you got here. Some of the older casts, like the first one I looked at, they had pictures in the IMDb. You know, most people have pictures on the IMDb. I always look at it as a sign of it's sort of a sign of seriousness. Like, you know, they have a picture up there. You know, it's not just a blank face. You know, it's not just blank.
Yeah.
I tend to think that when I see someone actually put a picture up there, it means to me that they're trying at least, or, you know, they're making an effort. And I know not everybody can do that. Um, what's it like working? You know, have you worked with any first time actors? Um, and what's it like working with a first timer actor? Is it something that you can relate with? Like, hey, I can sympathize with the actor because, you know, 10 years ago this was my first film too. You know, and you know I had good people take good care of me, so I'm going to make sure and take good care of them and keep that ball rolling forward. Or do you find yourself being that guy, you know, being the being the slightly impatient guy because maybe the crew you got isn't as experienced as you had hoped for?
Well, I've been very blessed to have worked with people that you know what they're doing, and get the job done. Don't waste time. And everybody that I've hired in terms of my talent had experience, you know, and even though I may not have worked with them before, they've got IMDb credits, they've got resumes on talent agency websites, and so I know that they're prepared and ready to go. Um, I did cast one gal that had just finished acting class in Seattle. She was probably 18, 19, and but I met her at a film screening in Seattle. She was introduced by another actress, a very well polished actress, and so it's weird. But as soon as I met her, she had such poise, she had such grace. I knew she was going to be fine, and so I cast her for my next film.
Um, what's the I mean, if you could actually work with if you could actually shadow five directors, if you got the chance to shadow five directors, which five would you shadow, and what makes them so good? Why would you shadow them?
Well, I would first bring back Orson Welles. He would be my number one. Uh,
Nice.
yeah, Orson Welles, then Steven Spielberg, then Martin Scorsese, uh, Clint Eastwood. Let's see, who else? Um, Ridley Scott. I appreciate his work. Yeah.
I felt sort of bad for Scorsese because he did The Irishman, and I like him, but that definitely was not one of his better ones. That was
Well,
uh,
he had a lot of trouble with that project because he bought the rights to the book, and then 25 years later, he finally got the movie made. So he literally had to walk the streets of Hollywood, pounding on studio doors, trying to get the money, and nobody would do it. So
yeah,
Netflix finally said, "Okay, we'll do it, but you've got to stream it on our service 3 weeks after its theatrical release." So Scorsese was not happy with those terms, but he did it, and the rest is history.
yeah. I was just watching that and going like, when is enough enough? You know, like you know, Francis Ford Coppola. You know, it used to be actors' names and directors attached to them would open every door. You know, but as we've gotten as you know, it's no longer like that in Hollywood now, where you know there's a name above a name above the title that will get you through the doors. There's very few movies are like that anymore, either directors or talent wise.
Right.
Um, and I was thinking about scores, you know, thinking about Coppola with Metropolis, and that just absolutely just crashed and burned. And then I was thinking about The Irishman. It's not. It wasn't a. It wasn't a comedy film in any stretch. But I found myself just. I found myself just crying and laughing because they're trying to put De Niro at 85 years old being a tough guy, and he's trying to kick somebody in the street, and you're sitting there going like, if that guy falls, he's breaking a hip.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's not like the old days. I mean, the old days, like in the early '70s, mid '70s, when Spielberg and Scorsese and oh, a couple of other directors were literally, running together, showing each other's work before they broke through the barriers. And it seemed like when they broke through the barriers, they did it all at once. And their names attached to a project got them the funding money, but not anymore. Yeah, even Spielberg. I mean, even Spielberg at the height of his career wanted to do Lincoln, and he couldn't get anybody to fund Lincoln.
right, right. Yeah, it always makes me wonder how they ever decide, to do the movies they do. You hear someone sit there and say, "Well, we're going to do a Robin Hood movie," and I'm thinking, nobody fucking asked for that. I'm sitting here and I'm here on YouTube. I'm here watching, reading the trades. I'm here doing all that, and I haven't seen anybody stick their hand up there and say, "Yeah, let's do a Robin Hood." Nobody cares. Nobody, let's do Three Musketeers. Let's not say that we did. It's like I'd rather go ahead and let's go find something new. Let's go find it. Let's go discover a new director. That's what's fun for me. Let's go find somebody who's brand new and who has a original voice. Somebody who did Smile, or It Follows. I get more excited about that than I do anything else.
Yeah.
Um, uh, is there any actors that if you had a chance to work with any actors that you would love to go ahead and act with?
Yeah, I'd love to work with Jessica Chastain. She's just a super phenomenal actress, and yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
I'd like to work with her.
I think she'd be. Yeah, I think she's an amazing actress too. Gosh, I remember when me and my wife we went and saw The Help, and how that was our first exposure to her, and how absolutely lovely she really was. She was so cute in that movie. Uh,
And then you watch Zero Dark 30.
yeah, yeah. Oh gosh, she's a chameleon.
Yeah,
She can go from she's like sort of Kate Blanchett. Kate Blanchett um can go from 0 to 30,
yeah.
light and fluffy to really heavy. um I guess that's probably the hardest thing to do as a short film, though, is to take that emotion and transfer, because you gotta have, like, how many emotions are you gonna deal with a short film? You got 15 minutes. How much emotion can I get within a 15-minute block? Do I have enough time to make somebody laugh, to make somebody cry, to make somebody wonder about the state of things? You can't fit too much emotion or emoting in a short film because you just don't have the time to do it.
No,
Because
there's a formula that I've learned over the years that seems to be effective, and that is that you pick one theme and you stick with the theme. Then you use as few actors as you possibly can. You shoot in as few locations as you possibly can.
right,
And you have as few scene changes as you possibly can. So without those all being set up, then you go ahead and tell your story. And you don't veer off with another character and tell his story. And you don't veer off, and have too many plot challenges and plot changes, because you basically got that amount of time to zero in on just that one theme and that one actor or two actors and their story. And that's what you stick to.
a short film better as a 1 to 3 person play. Up to three, maybe 4 people play. Because sometimes I've seen short films where they'll try to add on too many characters, and you don't really know who to follow.
Yeah,
Um,
they're trying to create a feature film in a short film format.
yeah, never works.
No, no.
Um, let me see. Let me see. Make sure I want to make sure my time here. I don't want to. Okay, I got time for a couple more here. Thank you for coming in and doing this with us.
Well, thank you.
This is an education, and I do appreciate it too.
I
Um,
appreciate your time. I really do.
let's talk a little bit about something you do know about, and I want to make this out for any filmmakers that are following us. How important is it now for? I feel like press has never been more important than right now. Um, there's so much out there. Everybody's talking about everything right now. How do you make your movie stand out above the rest? How do you publicize your films? And what would you tell someone who came up there to you and said, "Okay, I made a great film. Now what? How do I get it publicized?"
Well, fortunately, because I'm from the advertising world, and I'm very comfortable promoting services, people, products, and I happen to be a product maker. So consequently, I make sure that the key art poster for my projects are the best they can be, because I'm selling the story with that poster. And that poster has to be as good as it possibly can be. It has to be as good as what the studios are producing in Hollywood. So once I've got that in the bag, I start making sure that it's saturated throughout social media, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, you name it. It's going to be out there trying to beat the drum and attract attention. And then through Film Freeway, you can actually do some promotion about your project before you actually enter any festivals. So there's ways you can have your festival poster on it's almost like a blast flyer that comes out every week from Film Freeway, and they'll do a grouping of 5 films that they send out to all the distributors and film festival entities every week. Or you can narrow it down to like a single bio of yourself and your new project, and send that out. So that's before you ever enter a festival. So what happens is that goes out once a week, and suddenly festivals that are interested by your poster and your pitch, they'll start approaching you. Hey, I'll give you 20% off if you submit. I'll give you 70% off if you submit. So that's a nice way to have them come to you as opposed to you go to them and knock on the door and try to get in the festival.
Right. Has it been? Is it hard to knock on the doors for you now compared to where it used to be, or because you do have a respected body of work, and you have appeared in over 180 festivals? Is it now when you knock on the door, do people answer it now and want your movie? Let's say you're working on your new film, and you call up Sundance, or you call up or Carmel by the Sea, or Cannes, using them as an example. Is it easier now to get have your call taken in by these folks, or do you feel like you're still on the outside looking in as far as getting
Yeah,
your movie?
I'm just another fish in the sea. That's the reality, is that I'm not a major studio. I don't have a major talent that's going to bring along the paparazzi press. So consequently, I'm just another fish swimming in the sea, and I've got to knock on the door just like everybody else. And if I get a programmer who's got his top 10 projects in the pocket, in the program catalog, and he sees my project and decides he wants to put it in my festival, in his festival, then that's where I'm going to be able to reach as many people as possible, especially if it's in Washington State, and I can go and sit after the film screening and do Q&A with an audience. And little by little, people will come up to me, give me their card, give me their contact information, and it expands my network. But yeah, in terms of the big festivals, I just have to, well, and I'm very comfortable with my 13th film is going to do well, because it's just, I've had really good fortune, and the talent, the crew, the way that it's already turned out in the rough edit. Based upon all the projects I've done before, this one should outshine all of them. Yeah.
When's it gonna premiere?
Well, I'm waiting on post production, so I'm thinking, probably sometime in January. I'll do it in a local theater here in Washington State.
All right. We will come back and check in on you and see how that has worked out.
Yeah.
Um, I want to thank you for coming in and hanging out with us today, Kit. Like I said,
Thanks.
this is an education. I got a lot of short filmmakers this month. It's feast or famine. It's so, but the thing about it is, though, it's like I already know that the answers they'll give me are going to be so much different than what ones you given me. So you know, that's the beauty of it. It's not just the same old same old. It's like
Yeah,
how you see it is going to be so different from how someone else sees it. So I'm always fascinated by that aspect of it.
yeah,
Um, this has been so. I really do appreciate your time. This flew by fast. Holy shit, we already hit our mark, and it's just like it just flew by. But I really do love good film talk like this. It's like I said, it's an education. It makes me appreciate the form and the genre a lot more. I do hope that you'll come back and come
yeah,
out, especially once you start your feature film. I'm really interested in seeing how you do there.
yeah. Well,
Um,
what I'll do is I'll get your email and I'll send you a link to my last short that did really well. It was in like 36 different festivals and won a bunch of awards. Best horror short, best actress. So I'll send you a link and you can take a look and to get a taste of the kind of work I do.
Okay, I definitely would like that.
Yeah,
And yeah, of course, with film festivals, part of the bugaboo is they don't want filmmakers to advertise their work, which we talked about just now about advertising, how important it is, and it's really going to be sort of frustrating to be told not to. You know, we can't have anybody already review your movie. It's very frustrating. It's frustrating as a watcher.
yeah,
It's frustrating as a viewer. I'd like to see someone's short film. They tell me about it, but when they tell me they can't show it to anybody, you know, or have you review it because you know it's still playing the festival circuit, I think this is where festivals need to come up with a better game plan.
yeah,
Uh, they really do. I really don't think they should really ever tell any filmmaker not to play their music, not to play their movie anywhere where somebody wants to see it.
yeah,
Hey, if somebody wants to see it, somebody wants to play it in Timbuktu, Iowa, by all means, why the hell not?
yeah.
Uh, yeah. All right. So that will be it for today. Tomorrow we will be back at 8 o'clock with actress Kayla Marr will be here with us tomorrow, and then on Friday we have actress Chase Cortez de Vargas. I think I'm just hoping helping us hope that's how I say her name right. And yeah, that will be a very interesting and unique show for us on Friday, as I will be interviewing my first transgendered actress. So this will be a very interesting show, and she let me know that she is that. So we'll be talking a little bit about that. Won't be the focus of the show, of course, but it will be interesting aspect of the show. I've never, like I said, I've never talked to one yet. Over 500 episodes. So again, this is an education for me, and hopefully for some of you that want to come out and hang out with us on Friday night at 8 o'clock. Um, that will be it for the week. Still working on filling out the rest of the calendar up. December is difficult to book because of the holidays.
Yeah.
Um, so it's you know it's like but by tomorrow night I should have actually pretty much my calendar booked. And
Great.
so yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. Um, you can go ahead and share this out with your friends and family, of course, and to the chat who came out, the small group that came out and hung out with us. Thank you for doing that. I do appreciate that, Jim and Anthony, and Travel Off Book. I don't know you, but thank you for coming out and supporting the show. And we will see. We'll be here tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. Stay right where you're at for a second here. I won't take you very long of much of your time, and I'll say goodnight to the chat right here, and we'll see you tomorrow night at 8 o'clock with Kayla. Peace.